G'day, Brian Martin and Mark Gorski with you from Running Technique Coach and Running Technique Tips. Today we're talking about the Saucony 4mm range of shoes. So how does that all hang together, Mark?
Well, Saucony, as most people, Saucony lovers would know, for those who don't, the range has changed a fair bit in the last 6 to 12 months. So what now they've done is they've got their main models are all on an 8mm pitch, meaning 8mm from heel to toe, the drop. And then there's a range which we're looking at today, which are the 4mm pitch shoes, and then there's another very small range at 0 drop, which is the 0mm. So it's either 8, 4, 0. So today we're going to look at the 4mm.
Yep. So the 4mm range, there's 3 main shoes, probably only 3 shoes. They are the one you've got in your hands, the Kinvara.
The Kinvara. This is the Kinvara 3, which is the most popular shoe in that range, for sure.
And I've got the Cortana here. And the only missing piece of the puzzle today is the Mirage, which we actually left at home, but we can talk about that.
The Mirage 2.
The Mirage 2. Talk about that in its absence, so that won't be a drama. I guess one of the features of this 4mm range is the shoes, Mark, we were talking about before, they're actually quite similar.
They are, yeah. There's not a lot of, doesn't seem to be a lot of difference from, certainly aesthetically you can see some differences, but actually running in them, there doesn't seem to be a hell of a lot of difference between the three models. Yep. Some slight differences, which we'll discuss, but yeah, not a lot.
Okay, so first impressions on the Kinvara. I know you haven't actually done much in the Kinvara. I have run in it a bit, but from your experience in the past and retailing and selling shoes, what do you reckon of that?
Oh, look, aesthetics-wise, it's a great-looking shoe. They've definitely changed the upper with the flex film and stuff like that. So it does. On your foot, it actually feels fantastic. It's a really nice slipper-like feel. So
I'm not really a technology kind of guy, as you know, but so this is the kind of material that they have previously put into spikes.
They have, yes, into their spikes. So the endorphin and spikes like that, the top end spikes. This flex film's been great, yeah. So it doesn't necessarily sit that well on the shelf because of the way it sits with the flex film grooves and stuff, but on the foot feels fantastic, so well worth trying on.
Cool. I'll just grab that off here for a second. So my impressions of this shoe are that it's perhaps not the shoe that many people think that it is, and by that I mean it's a shoe that actually feels better basically when you're running a bit faster. So in my experience of running in this shoe, it doesn't feel to me that great when I'm running along at, say for example, 5-minute K pace, or even just starting out on your runs a little bit slower than that, but it does feel a lot better as you start to work down through 4:30 kilometre pace and even down to 4-minute kilometre pace, which for me is roughly my tempo kind of pace running.
Why is that?
Well, for me I think the shoe is actually quite a bit stiffer than the previous model Kinvara, the Kinvara 2, which I also did some running in, and that shoe was quite flexible, sort of front to back and also side to side. It was almost a bit of a Nike free, but without the flex grooves through it type of shoe. Whereas this one's much stiffer through the forefoot, I find, and it's also particularly not very flexible when you're kind of twisting it side to side. So for me, it feels better as you're running faster, so a bit more stiffness. So I guess it then becomes more of a up-tempo training shoe, or even something that you could wear in some longer races, like a 10K road, half marathon, even marathon, for a lot of runners. Perhaps runners that are in that kind of 3-hour to 3:30 range would be something that they could think about wearing.
I'm wondering, I think maybe they probably stiffened up the forefoot or bolstered it up a little bit, because there was some feedback previous models were wearing out a little bit quick, and this probably certainly doesn't wear out as quick as previous models. So durability wise, they've tried to probably bolster that up, but in doing so they might have taken away a little bit of that that sort of flexibility to be able to wear it for longer runs, longer jogging anyway.
So the fact that it is on that 4mm offset combined with the stiffness, for me, makes it less of a daily trainer, more of a faster running
tempo shoe,
which is fine if that's the reason that you're going to run in it and purchase the shoe. So for that reason, it's actually pretty good for that end of activity. And it is one thing we didn't mention is pretty light.
It is really great. It's the lightness that flex film is fantastic. The cushioning that Saucony uses is great. It's nice and light. There's nothing extra on the shoe, so if you want a nice light shoe, fantastic.
Cool.
So similar to this is the Mirage 2, which I've been doing a lot of running in recently. So The only really main difference is that Mirage 2 is supposedly got some medial support in it.
Yep.
It's sort of...
Does it feel like it controls you or helps you or supports you?
Not particularly, no.
Yep.
Having something sort of controlling in a 4mm drop shoe doesn't really, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Yep.
I think mainly it's slightly wider
Yep.
sort of through the base here, which probably gives it a bit more of a stable feel on the ground, but to be honest, it's not that much support-wise.
Yep.
Thankfully, it doesn't use any dual density or anything like that,
Yep.
which Saucony are slowly getting out of, which is fantastic because it feels like running on bricks most of the time.
Yep.
They've just got a little bit of a TPU shank through there.
What's a TPU shank?
It's just a little bit of plastic, sort of a plastic
Right.
shank that runs through the
Yep.
the midsole, the medial side there. So
Yep.
it is a nice feeling shoe. Reports are that the Mirage 3, which comes out I think early next year,
Yes.
is going to be a bit more flexible in the forefoot, which is
Yes.
fantastic because this shoe is quite stiff. So
Mm.
again, I sort of don't mind it as a jogging shoe up to about an hour of jogging. But because of the bit of stiffness, it actually makes you want to run a little bit faster than
Yep.
sometimes you should.
Yep.
So I definitely think it's worth using as a lightweight trainer to
Yep.
do some tempo type work in.
Yes.
But again, maybe not as a daily jogging
Yep.
shoe.
And we did see a sample of that new model a few months ago, and it does look like it's significantly more flexible through the forefoot.
I
than
think
the
flex
current
grooves are
model.
definitely a bit deeper, and
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to that one, and definitely want to try that as a bit more of a daily trainer and see
Yep.
if that feels just a bit nicer to run in when running slowly. But the Mirage, when you're running a bit faster, fantastic.
Good shoe.
Yeah,
Yep.
really happy with it.
No worries. Okay, so the Cortana, which has been my baby
The
to
surprise
try
packet.
out, and actually has been probably the surprise packet. I think a lot of people were turned off by this shoe because it was a little bit heavier. But what I've found is, especially compared to the Kinvara and the Mirage, it's a shoe that's actually got a lot more flexibility through the forefoot, and also when you're twisting it torsionally, so that sort of side twisting. As a consequence, I find that as a daily trainer type of shoe, I can run along in this quite comfortably at about 5-minute kilometre pace and not feel like I have to be pushing things a little bit too much. The fact that it is sort of well cushioned and has quite a nice cushy tongue, and the upper material is actually quite nice as well. Like, it's quite a bit more expensive.
It's a
this
high,
shoe.
it's more of a high-end shoe. It's
Yeah.
retailing for over $200 here in Australia, but it's definitely more of a high-end shoe, a bit more plush.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it does feel pretty good on the foot, and I have worn it sockless on occasion, and it's pretty comfortable to do that as well. But yeah, for me, this was actually a really surprise, this shoe, because I wasn't expecting to like it, but I actually liked it much more than the Kinvara or the Mirage, and I would be quite happy to wear this as a daily trainer.
And recommend it. Yeah,
and
for sure.
the plus side to it is that if you are doing a kind of run where you start out easy and you end up cranking down to tempo pace, or for example you finish up with some hill sprints or something like that during the run, that bit of less offset actually means that when you transition to running faster in this, it actually kind of makes that journey with you.
Yep.
And it feels quite good when you're really trying to put some power through the ground as well.
And you've done a bit of off-road, like sort of trail sort of stuff in these as well.
In fact, probably most of the running I've done in this has been off-road and on trails.
And holds up a while.
It has seemed to have held up pretty well.
Yep.
It probably is wearing a little bit through the forefoot. I'm actually running in a sample provided by the company, so it may well be wearing a little bit faster than the ultimate production shoes, but it doesn't seem to be wearing crazy fast or anything. It's not concerning from that perspective. So overall, really comfortable shoe. This for me is the surprise packet. I guess I wish, if anything, it was fractionally cheaper. It would be good.
Well, the prices have come down, so
Yeah.
that's definitely a little bit better. But that's definitely a shoe that probably doesn't get pumped up enough, and that people can use as a daily trainer. And it's not heavy. If you want a daily trainer that is a little bit lower in the offset, then it's definitely worth having a look at.
Yes, could be something for high mileage runners too.
Absolutely.
Or high mileage, minimal orientated runners who appreciate a little bit less drop.
Which there are plenty of those.
Which there are a few around now. Could like that. What about the new version of this? It's just sort of starting to land now, the Cortana 2.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can get our hands on that and sort of review it pretty soon. But we don't know too much about that just yet.
Significantly lighter from what I'm hearing.
well, that'd be handy.
Yes.
That'd be
So
handy. If it's
I-
getting down something sort of close-ish towards
Yeah,
this,
that's right.
then yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, there you go. That is the Saucony 4mm range. That gives you a little bit more of an understanding about which of the shoes you might use for different purposes and which ones that at this point we think are the best ones to recommend. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.